So we put a light on the front, and it's DeWalt powered with a DeWalt 20-volt battery. And there's the little adapter right there that we screwed into the top. Now, if you haven't done this before, this is what the adapters look like. And they just come, and you can get them from Milwaukee. You can get them for the different major brands to fit your batteries in. But these little adapters are nice. And I ended up with mostly DeWalt products for whatever reason. I don't even know, but I did. And so I have a lot of batteries. So these batteries just slip right in here and will power pretty much anything. This kit came with a fuse and a switch. So a built-in fuse and a switch that you can use, which is pretty sweet. Now, the dumb part is they didn't make a way to disconnect this easily so you can pass it through. So I ended up cutting the wire and then soldering it back together, which was okay because I wanted to recess the switch anyway. But basically, and the only part you had to really think about was where to put the wires and how to connect them without screwing it up so you don't solder something outside and need it on the inside. All right, well, if you've done this before, you know what I'm talking about. It's easy to make a mistake. So I just drilled a 1/2-inch hole here, used some 3/8 wire loom, and then passed the 2 main wires through here. And I ended up actually feeding the wires up through this hole and then soldering them here and then passing them back down through. And that worked pretty good. And so this switch is the switch. And I don't remember how big the hole is, but basically it's just on and off. It's pretty simple. But underneath, the wires just come down, go up to the switch, and then the hot and the black wire come down. Of course, the hot wire goes through the fuse block there, and they just come down in wire loom. And I was going to screw it to this box right here, or to this cover right here, with some self-tapping screws, and I think it'll have enough clearance, but I just went ahead and zip tied it here. It just kind of flops around a little bit, doesn't seem to, it's pretty strong back here. This is some pretty tough, this wire sheath that came on this light, and this is just a light from Murdoch's, so I forget the brand, it's some generic brand, but it seems to work okay. And it's just one screw and one bolt there. Now what this does is it lights up the front really well, but it doesn't light up this, and I'm not sure I want that. Now this actually came with the light here, this LED here, but this must be low power because I wired it in to this battery, which puts out 18 volts roughly, 18 to 20 volts, and it wouldn't light this up at all. So it must have a different requirement. Well, let's try it out here. Okay, we got our DeWalt battery. We'll just slide it in here. Ta-da. And we'll hit the switch. Cool. Now, I'm going kind of crazy with these, you might think, if you watch my channel, because I made this DIY lighted creeper. And this thing is, I love this thing. Every time I get into the car, I'm just so happy with it. So I just put a couple lights here. I made a whole video on this. I'll put the link at the end if you're interested in the build. But basically, it's just DeWalt powered too. You can slide a battery into the tray right here. And click. There's a little switch that I put on the side right here. It's a little hard to see in the light. But we're going to turn it on here. And this lights up everything under your car. Way better than a headlamp does. Anyway, if you're interested in that, watch the video. That's not what this is about. This is about the snowblower. And hopefully this will work out good in the winter. So this works well. What I'd like to do next is put a little lighter demand strip that's not super bright right here to replace this thing. And hopefully kind of lighten this up a little bit so I can see more of my edges, where this edge is and this edge is. I might be able to see it with this light here. I don't know. It shines kind of forward. I kind of wish I got kind of a round one or a wide beam. This is a wide beam, but it's not real wide right here where I really want it. But some people say that as the snow's blowing, if your light's right here, it kind of blinds you, like the reflection coming back in the snow, so you can't really see much. So it's better to have the light down there. Okay, and if you don't like the idea of the battery doing it this way, there is another way to do this to power lights, and you can get into the wiring and convert the AC to DC. It's a AC to DC rectifier is what you need. And so it just converts AC to DC current, and then you can run all your DC stuff, and it's pretty sweet. I've done that on a dirt bike before, and it worked really, really well for my GPS and my headlights and stuff like that, and my taillight. So it does work well, but I elected to go ahead and do this so I have the batteries. I'm probably not going to be using this very often, honestly, that I'm going to be blowing snow at night, but it's probably going to happen. So, because winter is coming. Now, even this light, this is the light that came off of the snowblower. I tried to hook this up to the 20-volt DeWalt battery. It wouldn't come on. And even if we hook it up to 12 volts, you know, this is a 12-volt battery here, and we hook that up, nothing happens. It's just not coming on. So the actual power source for this was 3 AAA batteries. So it's only like 4.5 volts, right? So that's not very much at all. So this LED is actually looking for a lot less power. So they're not all created equal. Okay, so on this particular light, the black wire is the hot wires. And we're going to touch the wire here and it comes on. But it does say in the item description on Amazon about this light that it really needs 12 volts, that anything much above or below that will actually ruin the light and shorten its lifespan. Okay, so that makes sense. So look at the range, you know, and all your lights will tell you the range. If your light says it'll tolerate a range of up to 24 volts, this battery is just fine. So in order to get this light to last, so how do we fix that? Enter the buck converter. So voltage reducer, buck converter, there's several names for it, and buck converter is B-U-C-K, so if you look for one, that's the common electrical name for it. But it'll have a, you know, there's all different ranges. This one's will take anything from 18 to 58 volts, it says, and step it down to 12 volts using 10 amps max. So the input wires are right here. So just like hooking up, you know, you're just coming off your battery, and even your car battery, it has a red wire and a black wire, right? The red wire is hot, black is neutral. And so you would just hook this up directly to your battery. And this takes whatever battery you're using. In this case, we're using a 20 volt battery, right? So we would hook this up here, and then that would take the voltage and then step it down to whatever specification is. In this case, it's 12 volts, and this will be the output. Now this will be the hot wire coming out. This will be the ground wire coming out. You see how they're next to each other there? So it's simple as that. Now these suddenly become your power wires, but it's putting out 12 volts or thereabout. Let's see how much exactly it's putting out. Okay, first we hooked it up to our car battery. Let's just see what our car battery voltage is. And it says it's 13.2 volts. And let's see what this converter is putting out. Now, of course, the yellow is hot and the black's the neutral. But look at this, 0 volts. And why is that? It's because the range, the input range, is 16 to 58 volts. So 12 volts isn't going to activate this. So that doesn't work at all. Okay, we got our jumper wires hooked up to our 20 volt battery here. The switch is off. We're going to go ahead and hook it up here to our DC reducer, voltage reducer. And now we're going to turn the switch on. Okay. And let's just measure it here. Yellow's hot, of course. Let's see what we get. 12.3 volts. That's pretty sweet. Okay, so I just mounted the buck converter or the voltage reducer right here. And so I just screwed that in, have a bolt there that's holding it in place. I'm just getting the positive from the battery. The battery mounts right up here on top. And so that comes in right here. And so positive is going to go to the red wire, negative is going to go to the black wire.
So in order to power the two lights I'm putting in, I just came off the hot yellow wire from the buck converter and split that into two hot wires, each one of them going through a switch before they move on to each light. And then of course the two return ground wires are connected together to the black wire from the buck converter.
All right, well, this was the first snowfall of the season that was worth blowing. So it was only 4 or 5 inches, but there's a couple places that the sun just never shines, and I got to get it out of the way. Otherwise, it just turns into solid ice later. So, and it just sits there forever and ever. All right, so hopefully we'll get to use it a few more times this season. It worked a couple times last season. Hopefully the snowblower will last me a long time, but only time will tell. So be sure to subscribe and follow me if you have the snowblower, and I'll let you know if I have any problems. All right, and listen, I appreciate your guys' comments. I always enjoy reading your comments down below. So if you have anything to say, anything to add, if you've done this differently, or you have the snowblower, I'd love to hear about the problems that you've had with it, or how you fixed it, or how you modified it. And I always enjoy reading about that kind of stuff. So thanks for sharing. All right, I'll see you next time.